Today, I am here with engineer extraordinaire Kat Al. Kat is a material engineer who is passionate about giving back to the community through her contributions in various professional organizations. She started the Illinois Asian American Civil Engineers nonprofit organization as a way to guide younger engineers and students of Asian descent by showing them how to advocate for themselves as well as provide resources to help them grow in their careers. In the first 2 years, Kat and her team quickly grew the organization and established themselves in the industry. Kat is currently a member of the Illinois Department of Financial and Professional Regulations Professional Engineer Board, aiming to make pathways for those with foreign degrees less complicated. She serves on the board for Pinpoint Scholars Foundation, and her goal is to continue to help the next generation. Thank you so much for being here with us today, Kat.
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for having me on here.
Wonderful, wonderful. First question I have for you is what motivated you to start the Illinois Asian American Civil Engineering Organization?
Thanks for asking. I know a lot of people have asked me this question too, but I would love to share with all of you why I started this. I honestly always thought it would be great to have an organization like this, but I never believed that it could be me to start it.
Yeah. But you did it.
But I did.
You did it.
So I had met this younger civil engineer, Jacob Molowick, who's currently working at SE3.
Okay. Shout out, Jacob.
Thanks, Jacob.
All right.
So Jacob rounded up a few Asian civil engineers to celebrate Lunar New Year a few years back. And over dinner, we're just talking about our career, sharing stories, and then it ended up with us talking about how we wish there was an organization for Asian American civil engineers. And Jacob expressed how he really wanted that group to be what started it.
Yeah.
And I'm older than Jacob, and I know having worked at IDOT and being in the industry long enough, I've had built up a network. So I told Jacob, I'm like, let me take the leap and let's get this started.
Okay. Yeah, look at you spearheading, pioneering, you know, the startup of
inspired by you.
of now a powerful organization. They're too kind. You're too kind. But no, what you've done is very impactful. Because you all have grown to a powerful organization within 2 years now, maybe going on
Almost
3
3
now.
years, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So talk to us. What is the hardest part about starting an organization like this?
Like I said, I wasn't worried about the network and getting people to support or attend events. It was just knowing what to do to start a nonprofit.
Yeah.
Since none of us had any experience on how to do that, we did a ton of Googling,
Yeah.
trial and error. For me, having been involved in ASCE, that helped a lot with knowing how to have an idea of how to structure an organization and set up the foundation at least and work on bylaws. Just some of those things apply to all organizations. So that part wasn't too bad. It was just more of the paperwork, the government stuff.
Yeah.
But luckily, after a year or so, we were able to get paired up with an advisor who's got a ton of experience with nonprofits. So she's been a great help and continues to help IAC.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I'm so glad to have you on the Pinpoint Scholars Foundation board. I mean, you bring in a wealth of knowledge and, you know, just your energy. It's just something about you that, you know, you just bring this presence and just, you know, it's just a do it mentality that I feel like you have. A lot of folks talk about what they want to do, but to see you go out there and actually take action and get this done and build an organization, very proud of you. Very proud of, you know, just to be here and talk to you today. So no, that's great to hear. Why do you feel representation is important, especially for the Asian American community?
I mean, that's part of why we started IACE, because we realized there weren't a lot of Asian leaders, both on the government and private side.
Yeah.
And we wanted to help guide those engineers who are interested in moving up the ranks. And there are a lot, but I think part of the issue is that culturally it's different. So learning to speak up and advocate for yourself was something that we have been working on and will continue to work on. Because even for myself, I've had to learn over the years, if I don't advocate for myself. No one else
Who will?
me.
Who will? Yeah, it's
But
important to speak up.
yeah, seeing someone who looks like you is really important too.
Yeah.
And I was able to witness that a couple years ago. I had won the ASCE Citizen Engineer of the Year award,
Hmm.
and after having given my acceptance speech, this young girl from IIT reaches out to me on LinkedIn. Never met her.
Yeah.
She just said that she was inspired by my speech and really appreciated seeing someone who looked like her up on stage winning an award and having gotten to where I am in my career. So it was really heartwarming and just
Yeah.
nice to know that I'm starting to make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. No, when you put yourself out there, some amazing things happen. People reach out to you from all over the world. But if closed mouth don't won't get fed is what they say. And at the same time, if you don't market what you do, and I know you didn't do it for marketing and or per se business purposes, but you're doing it to inspire entirely new generation that's coming into an industry. So I do think it's important for representation across the board. I mean, we talk about, there being so many other organizations, good organizations out there, ACEC, there's some different,
Build
yeah, there's some different organizations that, we can mention, but at the same time, do they reflect who you are as far as your cultural background? And there are just those subtle nuances that is so necessary to kind of talk
yeah.
about, so that way someone that's looking at you and say, hey, I have a similar story, you know I think I can do this, all because I saw Cat, all because I saw her speak. So no, that's incredible and that's amazing. I really do wish we had a African American organization that's within the civil engineer space that really advocates and really, can be a representation for younger generation to say, hey, I want to be a civil engineer now, right? I want to move into this space. But there's less than 4% representation within civil engineering for African Americans, for the Black community. So that's something that, I hope I can change, even by
Especially
just,
with this foundation.
yeah, foundation, the podcast. Like, we're going to have some tough conversations, but at the same time, it's all
Have those
necessary.
conversations.
Yeah, it's necessary because I think you hit it right on the head. You talk about advocating. You talk about, how being able to speak up for yourself it's opened doors for you, and
Mhm.
and it really has changed, a lot of things, even
Yeah.
within the industry.
A
So,
lot of times people think sharing what their experience or their expertise,
yeah.
not being humble and they don't want to brag about themselves.
Yeah.
But if you position it in the right way, you're not bragging. You're
Yeah.
just letting people know, hey, this is what I'm capable of.
Exactly. Yeah, I have that a lot. It's, a lot of folks are raised, and I know I was raised in particular to be humble and, to just, do the things that you need to do. But a lot of times, once again, you can get overlooked for promotions. You can get overlooked for a lot of things if you don't really put yourself out there and speak up for yourself. Now, imagine how many people thought that I could never build a company of my own, and, we can never move into this space. There were so many naysayers. There was even some individuals that, they tried their hardest independently to block, us from, flourishing and
You go.
lock us from contracts. It's just the belief in myself and the belief in God. Like that, I'm not
Yeah.
I'm here for a reason. Like, if I look at my entire um I would say, just if I look at my past and all the different things I went through in my lifetime, I'm like, no, I'm destined to be here, and no one's gonna stop me. So I don't know. I'm the type that, when someone say I can't do it, and I get that chip on my shoulder, there's nothing you can do to stop
Try to
me.
prove you wrong.
It's always been that, and it's always been that for even for sports, just in my career, just in business. It's always been that. So, I mean, I know sky's the limit, but I think I've reached a level of success where, I'm happy, and I want to see the next generation, grow and build. And, I even want some young, innovative entrepreneurs to come into the company, and one day even take it from me, right? It's more so about equity and passing it along. So I think you have a similar story as far as people doubting you, right? As a woman in engineering, can you tell me an example about maybe a story on, how you got here and how you had to defy the odds as well?
Yeah, I mean, I knew by 8th grade I wanted to be an engineer.
Really?
No idea
Early.
engineering what,
Early.
but I had older cousins who I looked up to that were engineers, so I'm like, I want to be like them.
Yeah.
So even when I was applying to college, I didn't know what kind of engineering I wanted to do.
Right.
And at that point, I had an aunt and an uncle on both my mom and dad's side of the family.
Yeah.
My mom, why is she applying for engineering?
Oh, huh.
First of all, she's a girl.
Whoa.
Second of all, she's not smart enough.
Wow.
So, I mean, college did get hard,
Yeah.
but part of me stuck through it just to prove them wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I did. I couldn't imagine myself doing any other career, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm stubborn too. And
Yeah. I don't know what to call it, but
prove the
it's a
hits.
good stubborn, right? Yeah. You gotta show the haters that, you're gonna do it regardless.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. So I would say another question that I have for you, right? We talk so much about representation. And I'm not sure how familiar you are with the new DBE ruling, right? There's a ruling that was passed down by one of the judges, and they're saying that the DBE program is reverse discrimination, right? So they're asking for firms to recertify without using race and gender in their narrative that they have to write. So it's two things you have to do. You have to create a new narrative. You have to write a narrative on how you feel you're disadvantaged, and then you have to also submit a personal net worth statement. Now, for me, I think that just kind of, if you're trying to say how you're disadvantaged without race and gender, it almost totally, disregards historical, history on discrimination in all aspects, whether you're a woman and whether you're a minority, so on and so forth. Even for myself, you look at access to quality education, you look at access to loans for businesses, redlining, which is something that the government's admitted and said, hey, yes, we did do these things. And now they're asking for folks to recertify. What are your thoughts about that and how it will affect the Asian American community?
I honestly have mixed thoughts on it. I do understand that it does give access to those who typically wouldn't have access.
Hmm.
But on the flip side, it also allows the best companies to perform and
Hmm.
showcase what they're capable of.
Mm.
Because I'm definitely not going to name names, but there are some DBE companies that kind of game the system.
Hmm.
They get work, but it's not always it's not quality work necessarily.
Okay.
So I know other DB firms who do quality work
Yeah.
feel like those who perform less quality work kind of,
Hmm.
what do I want to say, make all of us look bad.
They make it look bad, right? They give the DBs a bad name,
Yes.
is what you're saying. Um, and yeah, I agree with that. You know, I here's the thing. I feel like, and this as an owner of a DB firm, I feel like no firm wants to be known as a DB, right? No firm wants to be known as, hey, I'm this firm that, it almost feel like a title of being less than,
Yeah.
right? We want to come in and we want to prove that we're the best and earn work on our merit, right? But here's the reality, right? And even as an individual that put together proposals and you see the scoring criteria, a lot of it is based on previous experience, right?
Yep.
For new firms or someone coming into the industry, how do you get that experience without someone saying, hey, I want you to partner with us or I want to bring you into the industry, right? Like, how do you get that level of access?
feel like it's so much harder for those companies. Like you and I, we work for IDOT, and having that on our resume helps a lot. It's because we know and have a lot of strong relationships with people at IDOT still.
Yeah.
And for those new companies who are starting from scratch and don't have those relationships, they have to work so much harder. They have to go to all the events and build up that network.
Yeah.
So I do feel for them, and I understand that challenge.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, I've seen it. I'm friends with some of
Yeah. Believe it or not, a lot of my relationships, it wasn't the reason that I was able to get started, right? I had to meet so many people, so many things I had to do. And I had to drive down to Springfield and meet with people. I had to it was a lot of knocking on doors and begging for that first opportunity. So I think regardless, right? It's hard for a new firm to move into the space and gain business even with that certification. But the problem is the way the scoring system is structured. Unless you have previous experience with the agency, and it literally says that in every PTB bulletin and any PSB, anything you decide to go after. We were looking at some work at one of the municipalities in the south suburbs, and 25% is previous experience working with this municipality.
So it ends up being like the same companies.
So it ended up being the same company. So it creates this monopoly in the industry. So, whether you're good or not, this DB thing is more so about access. How are you going to have access into the industry without it, right? And you talk about representation. How do you have representation in the industry without it, right?
Yeah,
So
very valid point.
yeah. I mean, that's just my take.
Yeah.
Like, that it's still in court and they're still reevaluating the program, but I really hope they keep it. I think it's a program that helped a lot of firms, start off. And, I pray that one day we graduate from that program. So luckily there are caps.
Yeah.
But, I do want to graduate from the program and then, once again, be judged off the quality of your work, the innovation that we're bringing to the
I have
industry.
no doubt you get there.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. With your help, yeah, we can do anything. So
Yep.
the right set of people. It's really about having the right people.
Who you surround yourself.
Yeah, collectively. Yep. It's about who you surround yourself with. I couldn't say it better. All right. So, what's your experience been, as a woman in a male-dominated field such as civil engineering?
I gotta say thank you to all the women who came before me and had to deal with all the BS that I don't really have to deal with. I think I've been fortunate for the most part. It hasn't been too bad. I think being a woman in construction
Mm-hmm.
is a little harder, and I have spent most of my career on the construction side.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I still have to be more conscious of how I dress
Yeah.
because I want to be taken professionally. I don't want to get hit on.
Yeah.
I want to know someone's talking to me or being nice to me because they respect me, not because they're hoping that I
Yeah.
want to date with them, for example.
Yeah. Do you get that a lot?
More than I would like.
Oh yeah, well, good and bad, right? Like I
I
guess.
don't want to stop being nice to people.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a challenge, or even being a woman on the job site and not having access to porta potties sometimes.
Yeah.
It's frustrating because we're supposed to have them there.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more women get involved in construction. And
Yeah.
I'm guessing some of the challenges are when women become mothers, it's
Yeah.
construction schedules aren't flexible, but hopefully moving forward, supervisors and companies will be more willing to work with them because we have a ton of great women in the industry.
Yeah.
I'm sure they would love to learn and be on the job sites, but being a mother, being a nursing mother,
Yeah.
sometimes it's hard too.
Yeah. I can only imagine. I've heard a lot of stories coming from women in the engineering field. and because I'm an advocate, right? I'm gonna fight for anybody. I don't know. Maybe I just like fighting. I'm so, but it's just me. But the way that some folks, just go around and they treat people, whether it's because of their race or their gender, don't really sit right with me. So I gotta say something, and push back. I remember a young lady. We were working on one of the it was like $8 billion high rise across from Navy Pier on that Lend-Lease developed. It was one of our first land development contracts, but we walked through the building, we would see all types of obscene drawings on the concrete. It was freshly poured concrete, and this is by the actual workers, right? Um, Went to one of the job site, and it's a transportation project, and I guess it was a lady that was inspecting and telling the contractor, hey, no, you can't do this, and I'm not going to let you do it. And she was going according to the spec. And the next day, when she got back to the job site, and she sent me a picture of this, they wrote in big bold letters the B word all across like the freshly poured, and they specifically like kind of identified her in this thing, but they did everything but said her name. They wrote nasty description, like kind of describing her, so on and so forth. And the interesting part is, she went to the supervisor and said, hey, this happened to me, and nothing happened, right? Nothing happened, right?
Worse to hear.
Yeah, so it's disheartening, and it's at the same time, you want to be around people that's going to stand up for you, that's going to advocate for you, and that's going to do something when somebody, wrong you. So yeah, I can only imagine, and once again, I'm happy that you're there as someone that I know is gonna step up and speak up and push back. How do you push back without burning bridges though in our industry? We're in such a relationship driven
And the
industry, right? Yeah, and if you say something, right, you advocating for Asian Americans or to do certain things. Yeah, like how do you advocate? Like how do you advocate without
burning bridges, you have
Yeah.
very conscious of the words you choose.
Yeah.
If you choose the right words, you can still get the message across without it coming off so aggressive or negative.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Do you think a relationship-based industry, like, we have to network a lot and you have to meet the people before you really pursue projects? Like, I think that's almost a rule of thumb. Do you think a relationship-based industry is good or bad?
Obviously, having a good relationship will help the client and us work together better, but that shouldn't be the biggest determining factor on who wins a project.
Yeah.
And too often you do see someone winning a project solely based on the relationship they have with the client and not necessarily their qualifications.
Yeah.
And yeah, it can get frustrating
Yeah, very.
knowing that our companies, we have a really strong team, a very capable team who can deliver that project better than the opening team.
Yeah, you won't, to be honest, it's not like it's impossible to know and get to know everyone, right?
Exhausting.
And yes, it's exhausting. Networking events it's a job in itself, right? But it's good to be able to put a face to a name, to a brand.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once again, same as DBE, you want to be judged off of your ability to do the work, and you want to be able to get an opportunity. And it just makes it that much harder if work is being if work is being awarded based upon whether I like you or not, or whether I know you or not, or like it's really tough. But overall, I love how um small and personable our industry is, and it's pretty easy to get to know people.
Yeah.
Everybody drinks and turns up and have a good time, so it's definitely a good industry to be in. Yeah, but we do want to make sure that we're giving everyone a fair shot and opportunity to show what they're capable of, and once again, we want to select the best of the best, right? Who's innovative, who can deliver, and do the work. So, um, how do you think AI would change our industry?
I think it'll make things more efficient. I don't I know a lot of people are worrying, like not just necessarily in our industry, but just across all industries, people are worrying that they're gonna lose jobs.
Yeah,
We're not gonna lose anything. It's just gonna help us do our jobs more efficiently, and ultimately AI will is a tool.
yeah,
Humans still need to double check it before we sign off on anything.
correct, correct.
And some little things like meeting minutes. So convenient turning on the AI or that because sometimes it's a lot trying to jot everything down and be here. You don't miss anything.
Yeah. I mean, with all the data centers popping up everywhere, um, do you think AI will get smart enough to not need that supervision that you speak of?
I'm sure that capability already exists,
Yeah,
but I don't think they're or it's given to everybody. Not everyone's got access to that because that
yeah,
could be dangerous.
yeah. We don't know. It might be. Who knows? Hopefully, it's a long way off before they start replacing humans with robots fully, especially in a field that's so, I would say, mobile, like such as construction and or engineering. Like, we have to really be hands on with what
At
we
least the
do. But
construction side of things, they still need humans out there.
oh yeah, for
So
sure, for sure. Yeah. All right, wonderful. So, do you have any important advice you can give for the next generation and or um
things I wish I had
things
done.
that you wish you knew, yeah, early on that would help you? Yeah, what would that be?
Wish I got involved in organizations earlier, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
It's each organization has like a different group of people involved. So I've been able to meet different people in each organization I've met, and it's helped me with reaching out for a future teaming partner or just setting up an event, getting a
Yeah,
hold of somebody.
wonderful.
So for younger engineers, get involved in organizations. That's an easy way to build your network. And like we've been talking about, networking is
Yeah.
so important. So that's one. Another thing I wish I'd done is find a mentor.
Yeah,
I was too scared. I'm like, these people are busy at work. I don't want to bother them.
right.
But don't be scared to ask. You'll realize that most people are willing to help. And
Yeah,
all you have to do is ask. And over time, I've learned just ask. What's the worst? You'll get a no.
just a no. Closed mouth don't get fed.
Exactly.
But the worst that can happen is no.
But
But
then you could always be surprised and you'll get what you ask
what if we get a yes? What if you get a maybe? Right?
Stay persistent. Keep asking.
Exactly, exactly. So why it's so important, for you to give back? I mean, you sit on the board of Pinpoint Scholars Foundation and you're interested in making an impact on the next generation. Why is this so important to you?
I've thought about this. I think it stems from my father. Um, he was a CPA, and I remember growing up, he would volunteer his time on weekends during tax season to go to Chinatown and help a lot of the immigrants do their tax returns.
Yeah.
And his mother was always very giving. She would always, anytime she passed a homeless person, she would always give them
Hmm.
money. So just growing up, seeing family who would give back to the community,
Hmm.
um, stuck in my brain. So
Yeah.
I knew I wanted to help future generations.
Yeah.
And also, I wished there was a version of me when I was
Yeah.
growing up, because sometimes I'll just go up to the younger engineers and ask them if they need help instead of waiting for them
Yeah.
to ask me, because sometimes I know it could be scary trying to talk to someone who's got a lot more experience than you.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's amazing. I think the reason I like to help so much was a few reasons. Number one, humble beginnings, first generation as well. parents are from Ghana, and yeah, we moved to the South Side. We moved to the hood, the heart of Englewood community on the South Side, and growing up, I never knew what civil engineering was, right? And it wasn't until I went to college, went off to U of I, that I did a career exploration class and stumbled upon civil engineering. I knew I wanted to be an engineer, so I'm similar like you. I know, but the reason why I wanted to be was different. I'm like, I want to make money. Like that's my goal. I need to make money. So what fields are the highest paying fields? And then so I started off in computer engineering. I was programming with JavaScript. I was getting good at it, but I just hated it. I'm sitting in front of a computer, and the slightest error, a little syntax error,
Trying
my
to
my
find
my
it.
software wouldn't run. So I said, "No, I can't do this." So switched over to took a career exploration class and ended up finding civil engineering. It took all my strengths. I was good at math, science, and then I just like to build stuff with my hands. I always was the type that liked to be outdoors and build. So once I found that, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is it. This is for me." So I ran to my advisor. I said, "Oh, I found my major, civil engineering. This is what I want to do." My advisor looked at me and said, "No, you can't do that. Because of the school and the community you come from, people that look like you do not become civil engineers. So
That's messed up.
why don't you choose psychology or sociology or maybe even African American history?" All right, and that is messed up. But my story was not independent. Like this wasn't an isolated incident. Like
Yeah.
the students from my school, they were all met with the same resistance, and they were all told to change their major. The difference between me and them is that I didn't take no for an answer. And once again, that's that fighter in me. Like, nah, I'm not paying all this student loan money for you to tell me what to major in. Put me in the classes I tell you to put me in. Let's see how I do. If I do well, then we'll take it from there. End up doing well. I mean, I did have to study nonstop. I do think that yeah, I may have not been as prepared as I thought I was at the time, but I was willing to work for it, right? I knew why I was there. So I just kept pushing, and I was like, yeah, no, this is what I'm going to do. And yeah, I graduated bachelor's in civil engineering, minor in mathematics, and I just kind of kept going. Professional engineer, went into the industry, did my time there, and then started my own business. So to a lot of folks, it's like, you're not supposed to be here. So at the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, I'm here. Nah, yep. You gotta see me, you gotta deal with me. And, I wanna just open the doors for the next generation that did not even know this great industry even existed that can come in and make a huge impact. So yeah, that's my story. That's my reason. So um
Great role model, Solly.
oh, I thank you. I
Yeah,
think we tried. That's what we here for. Like at the end of the day, we're only here for a limited amount of time. Let's make the best of it, right?
exactly.
Yeah. So um that's pretty much it. We're gonna wrap up. But before we go, I want the viewers to know how they can get in touch with you. They may, want to connect with you. They may need a mentor, right? They may want to come to PSF and mentor. Yeah, how do we get in touch with
Look me up on LinkedIn.
you?
I'm
Okay.
Catherine Au.
Cat Owl.
Yeah.
Can't forget it. All right.
Yeah, send me a message. I check it all the time. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And also circle back with us, follow us, subscribe. Check out www.mypsf.org. You can sign up to get involved with Pinpoint Scholars Foundation. You can sign up for a mentor. So, Kat, she's more than willing to support and help those looking to just do some amazing things in life. So, I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to sit down and even come up with Kat. Kat and I started at Illinois Department of Transportation together, but it's been an incredible journey. And I want to thank you so much for coming on to the podcast and telling us your story.